Maybe they started out and they didn't last or something.
That's just strange.
That's possible. Okay, we're live on Restream, so we
Well, I
should.
got it confused with the 70 that were ordained.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The ordination. Yeah, that is strange because that is, let's see, this is coming in. And of course, Facebook is not coming in again. Sorry, y'all. Well, I was really happy with that video I did this afternoon.
Cool.
It'll be out at 9 o'clock tomorrow. There it is. We're live. We are live. Okay. Approve. And I probably ought to stop this otter. I'm not using it very much. So here we go. Record on this computer. Okay. One more, y'all. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we are going to continue our study on paper 149. We're in section 3, paragraph 1, and that starts on 1672, paragraph 4 of the original book. And on the rest of them, it'll be 149.3.1. All right, let me change the screen here. I thought I was going to have to go back a paragraph tonight, but I don't. We did end up finishing it.
Sorry,
Okay,
Roger. Oh,
yeah,
1672. Okay.
got it.
Yeah.
Did I get the right thing? Yeah, I did 1672. 1672. Okay, we're good to go. We're restreaming on Facebook. Hello, everybody in Facebook, and we're in YouTube. Hello, everybody on YouTube, and we should be good to go here. So we'll see how we do tonight. But we got that little short video I put out yesterday of myself and one other person, artificial person. Um, that got quite a few views right after it started. I didn't check it later in the day, but I got quite a few
Wow.
views. And we were getting quite a few views on our shorts, y'all, several hundred on the shorts. So
Wow.
go look for yourselves out there because everybody that reads has usually ends up with a short one way or another. So, and I've got another program I'm using for that too. I'm using Nexus, and then now I'm using vidIQ. And I made some shorts out of the video I made today out of vidIQ, which came out pretty good. So I'm going to post those tomorrow. So we got two new videos. One new video coming out tomorrow, and then our meeting will be out. From
Right.
tonight, I'm actually putting it out. It's out on the podcast the same day, and it will be out on the larger screens the day after because I'm not going to hurry it. If I wait one day, it seems to get more views. So that's where we
Cool.
are. Okay, so let's get started here. I'll start out reading tonight, I guess. Hostilities of the religious leaders, notwithstanding the favorable recognition of Jesus and his teachings by the common people, the religious leaders at Jerusalem became increasingly alarmed and antagonistic. The Pharisees had formulated a system and dogmatic theology. Jesus was a teacher who taught as the occasion served. He was not a systematic teacher. Jesus taught not so much from the law of life as from life by parables. And when he employed a parable for illustrating his message, he designed to utilize just one feature of the story for that purpose. Many wrong ideas concerning the teachings of Jesus may be secured by attempting to make allegories out of his parables. And can someone explain to me what that is? What's
An
that?
allegory.
Yes.
Like a
It's
story?
breaking something down into smaller pieces. A story about every particular.
Every single particular. Okay. What were you going to say, Pam?
Allegory is a story, so that's all that I've got.
Oh, okay. So we're both on the same page there then. Okay, sometimes people try to overanalyze the stories of Jesus, basically, right?
The parable.
And yeah, and when they do that, they put their own meanings in that, which I do a lot. when we're going through the book. But they put their own meanings in there, and sometimes it's not necessary. What Jesus says. And, if I have a tendency to do that sometime, y'all don't agree with it, stop me. Stop me, somebody, stop me.
Right.
All right, so that's the situation we have. So we have a lot of hostile religious leaders running around behind Jesus and trying to oust him, right? Because they don't like the fact that he's teaching, and he's not teaching the way they teach, right? And probably a lot of people that watch our videos don't like the way I teach either, because I am not your typical teacher. I try to just kind of explain things as simply as I can, and I don't claim to be an expert on any of it, right? It's just the experience I've had reading it so many times. So,
Well, Jesus was teaching that our God is our Heavenly Father
yes,
of the individual, whereas uh, the Jewish religious leaders taught, no, Yahweh is the God of our nation.
yes, and that's a big difference, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's difference between a personal God and a God of the whole entire nation or the race, as we can say. And let me mention something else while I'm talking about. I was talking to my wife about this. I have such a habit of speed reading. When I was in medical school and all that, I had to do it. We had to read volumes and volumes of stuff. So it's hard for me to slow down enough to read. I skip over things and that sort of thing when I read aloud. And I told her the other day, I said, I probably shouldn't be reading aloud at all, because I'm 6 paragraphs ahead or 6 sentences ahead of what I'm actually saying. So so that's why sometimes it seems it's so cut up. And I wanted to mention that. And I know I do it all the time. So
I just wanted to mention it says an allegory is a story that has a hidden moral or political message. The characters and plot often symbolize real life people, events, and ideas, but the comparison isn't explicitly stated.
very good. Very good. I'm
That's for
glad you,
allegory.
that's allegory, right? Okay. I'm glad she looked that up. Clarification of that. Okay, Pam, would you take the next one?
Sure. The religious leaders at Jerusalem were becoming well nigh frantic as a result of the recent conversion of young Abraham and by the desertion of the 3 spies who had been baptized by Peter and who were now out with the evangelists on the second preaching tour of Galilee. The Jewish leaders were increasingly blinded by fear and prejudice, while their hearts were hardened by the continued rejection of the appealing truths of the gospel of the kingdom. When men shut off the appeal to the spirit that dwells within them, there is little that can be done to modify their attitude.
And what do we call that? Free will, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always have free will, so you can cut off the influence of the thought adjuster. You can cut off the influence of the spirit of truth. You can cut off the influence of the Holy Spirit. You can cut off the influence of all your guardian seraphim and things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to keep your mind open and your heart open for the truth that's trying to seek into yourself. Another interesting thing about this paragraph, it says here the conversion of young Abraham. Young Abraham was one of the spies they sent out, right? They're not talking about Abraham,
Was
the
it?
original.
Uh,
At the beginning of this, I want to make that clarification. It says,
yeah.
as the result of conversion of young Abraham and the desertion of the 3 spies, he was one of the 3 spies that deserted. All right.
Okay.
Bravo.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Abraham was part of the Jerusalem religious leaders. Not
Right.
sure if he was in the Sanhedrin, but
Well, he was part of
uh,
the spy group that was there.
okay.
That's the
I
that
didn't catch that.
yeah, he deserted them and just became a disciple of Jesus. So did not make them happy. Okay. By no means. Okay, dear. You're up. Let me mute here.
When Jesus first met with the evangelist, at the Bethsaida camp. And concluding his address, he said, "You should remember that in body and mind, emotionally men react individually. The only uniform thing about men is the indwelling spirit. Though divine spirits may vary somewhat in the nature and extent of their experience, they react uniformly to all spiritual appeals. Only through and by the appeal to this spirit can a mankind ever attend unity and brotherhood." But many of the leaders of the Jews had closed the doors of their hearts to the spiritual appeal of the gospel. From this day on, they ceased not to plan and plot for the master's destruction. They were convinced that Jesus must be apprehended, convicted, and executed as a religious offender, a violator of the cardinal teachings of the Jewish sacred law.
You're muted.
I said they wanted to get him really bad, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, any way you look at it. I want to bring something up to y'all because of all my involvement in writing lately and all this stuff. And I see all this stuff on YouTube about how AI is going to take over writing books and all this stuff, which isn't true. You know, people still write books. But let me point something out to y'all because this is going to be an issue in the future. You mark my words, it's going to come up. Okay. Back in the 30s to 50s, when this book was written, it was very common to use this little dash right here. You see this?
Correct.
Okay, and one over here. Okay. Now, the latest thing is this. Everyone is saying when you see that because it's outdated type, okay? It's not outdated type. People just didn't know how to use it and it didn't end up on the keyboard of the regular keyboards. Okay, you have to have a combination of keys to make that mark, okay? And y'all can look that up at your leisure. But what I want to say is this, because throughout this book, this is used, all right? And because of that, sooner or later, someone's going to come along and say that this work was written by artificial intelligence.
Really?
Yeah, really, because
But it was dated so long ago, and there wasn't any artificial intelligence.
that's exactly right. But people don't care. Somebody will come along and say, because this has got the symbols in it, it actually
Aren't
was written
those
by AI.
hyphens?
They're hyphens. Yeah.
Oh, what does hyphen have to do with AI?
Because when you get any of the AI tools like Chat GPT or Google or Grok or any of those, when you ask it to correct anything that you're writing or working on, it will insert these things throughout the text.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's how
Okay.
all these AI AI machines trying to determine whether you really wrote it or not. This is one of the main things they look for is these little hyphens. Okay. And because of that, what I'm saying is this, because this is what publishers are looking for. And when they see that, sooner or later, they're going to try to go through the Urantia book and say, this was written by AI, and it's
I
not.
understand.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to watch how technology comes along and it can give you a false reading on something because I guarantee you, I've read this book so many times, these hyphens are throughout the entire book. Okay.
Makes you wonder if the Midwayers had AI before us.
Maybe so. Who knows? But I wanted to bring that up because sooner or later, y'all are going to hear it and you're going to go, why didn't Dr. Paul ever say anything about that? But I'm saying it now. But you won't find these in my book anywhere. I guarantee you. So anyway, okay.
So in reality, it should be a comma.
Yeah, or a
Comma.
other type of the shorter hyphen, either one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Rodney, you
Short
can pick the
hyphen.
next one.
Instead of the long hyphen.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Okay, 4, progress of the preaching tour. Jesus did very little public work on this preaching tour, but he conducted many evening classes with the believers in most of the cities and villages where he chanced to sojourn with James and John. In one of these evening sessions, one of the younger evangelists asked Jesus a question about anger, and the master, among other things, said in reply,
What? What do you mean? No, he didn't say.
and it's, look at that, there's a hyphen below.
Yeah, no,
The,
that's the thing to let you know that there's another little thing in the standard Urantia book that has been corrected about this.
Oh,
Okay. So if you click that little thing, you want me to click it so you can see what it is?
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's right there.
yeah, I don't,
I never noticed that before.
Yeah, here we go. Let me share here. Stop the share. Share. All right, let's see if this is going to show up. There you go. You see that where it says preserving the inviolate, the text of the Urantia book. And this is all from the foundation website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what this does is it gives you all the references for changes made in the book. Okay. And I wanted to show you all that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop the share and go back to the thing again. Here we go. Okay. So if you see those little things down there, you can go look them up on the website under the text standardization. And
okay.
you can look up that particular reference and it'll tell you why they changed it. Okay. From the original book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got it all the way through the books. There's, I forget how many, 100 and something of them. Okay. I guess I'm back up. Anger is a material manifestation which represents, in a general way, the measure of the failure of the spiritual nature to gain control of the combined intellect and physical natures. Anger indicates your lack of tolerant brotherly love plus your lack of self-respect and self-control.
Mm.
Anger depletes the health, debases the mind, and handicaps the spirit teacher of man's soul, the thought adjuster, right? Have you not read in the scriptures that wrath kills the foolish man and that man tears himself in his anger? That he who is slow to wrath is of great understanding, while he who is hasty of temper exalts folly. You all know that a soft answer turns away wrath, and how grievous words stirs up anger. Discretion defers anger, while he who has no control over his own self is like a defenseless city without walls. Wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous.
Mm.
That's pretty heavy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Angry men stir up strife, while the furious multiply their transgressions. Be not hasty in spirit, for anger rests in the bosom of fools. Before Jesus ceased speaking, he said further, let your hearts be so dominated by love that your spirit guide will have little trouble in delivering you from the tendency to give vent to those outbursts of animal anger, which are inconsistent with the status of divine sonship.
Mm.
And whose job is it to get rid of this mark of the beast within us that this anger comes from?
Thought adjuster.
Us.
The guardian seraphim,
Oh,
right?
the guardian seraphim.
Yeah.
I
I
think
can't
I
hear
need a
you,
new
Rodney.
one.
Can
Okay.
everybody else hear Rodney?
I'm not talking.
You mean Gary, right?
Uh-oh, I think I
That
cut
was
my own
me.
sound off here, y'all. Give me a second. Every time I bring up a website that's got sound, it does this to me for some reason.
Hmm.
Weird.
Try it now. Say,
Something.
there we go. I got it back.
So what's interesting about this teaching from Jesus is it contradicts much of the Old Testament about the wrath of God,
Exactly.
how God would be angry.
Yeah. And we know there is no such thing as an angry God, don't we?
Hmm.
Correct.
No, we know that there's no such thing. God is not angry, but there are alleged angry gods.
Well, there's alleged angry gods, but they're not God the Father, right?
No, God
Not
the
at
Father is
all.
not angry. He's
Yeah.
loving.
And he would have no reason to destroy the earth by water, fire, or any other thing, pestilence or anything other thing, would he? Because he doesn't have anger in his personality, and God is a divinity. He's not the personality of a human. And we try so hard to give him our personality, don't we?
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus. That's right. He's not Santa Claus either. All right. Okay. So, what's the lesson in this? It does no good to get anger. It does no good to blow up. It does no good to debase other people's, your brothers and your sisters, your wife, husband's wife, brothers, sisters, dog, or anything else, right? That's the mark of the beast coming out in us, and that's the seraphim's job to try to train us out of that, both in this life and in the life to come in the mansion worlds. That's why we spend 7 mansion worlds before we totally get rid of this mark of the beast, and this is part of the mark of the beast, right?
Mhm.
All right. Here we go. Pam, you're back up again.
Mhm. On this same occasion, the master talked to the group about the desirability of possessing well balanced characters. He recognized that it was necessary for most men to devote themselves to the mastery of some vocation, but he deplored all tendency toward over specialization, toward becoming narrow minded and circumscribed in life's activities. He called attention to the fact that any virtue, if carried to extremes, may become a vice. Jesus always preached temperance and taught consistency, proportionate adjustments of life problems. He pointed out that overmuch sympathy and pity may degenerate into serious emotional instability. The enthusiasm may drive on into fanaticism. He discussed one of their former associates whose imagination had led him off into visionary and impractical undertakings. At the same time, he warned them against the dangers of dullness, of over conservative mediocrity.
Okay. Look at Jesus's life. Look at all the different professions that he had over his period of time.
Yeah.
Remember that? Okay. And the fact that he tried very hard not to become over specialized in any one thing. He tried to experience as many possible uh, employments and things in life that he could so that he could get a taste for every single one of them for all the people that he rules in this kingdom, doesn't he?
Mhm.
Okay. And the other thing is he mentions here about some associate who got led off by his own imagination, became overzealous. You can become fanatical. There's all sorts of stuff. So you have to do the old saying, the old wise saying, everything in moderation, right?
Mm. Yeah.
That's the key to everything. All right. So let's
You
go.
know, can I make a comment?
Yes.
If you go down through that paragraph
Let me go back up here. Okay.
and analyze what he's saying with what our society's become, we come to a very specialized society on a major portion. We
Right.
have computer programmers that specialize in just one aspect of programming. Uh, all the even non-technical occupations are somewhat specialized. We got electricians, we got plumbers, we got people that do just strictly buying. We got people that do medical billing, etc.
Well, even
That,
doctors.
Yeah,
yeah,
even doctors.
doctors go right up, nurses,
Yeah.
anything. We've gotten very specialized, and I think that's one of the things that we probably should have, you know, one of our problems, because it says he called attention to the lack of any virtue carried to extreme. But anyway, somewhere in this paragraph, he says that we get towards to there it is. He says over specialization toward becoming narrow-minded and circumscribed in life's activities, and that explains a lot. And it also kind of explains why it's becoming very hard to discuss political stuff with people. And I remember it was a time in my life we could discuss anything without any animosity.
Well,
Correct.
that's that way in religion also, Gary.
That's
Think of it
true.
that way.
Mhm.
All the different religions think they have the answers to all the questions, don't they? And so, it's hard to discuss anything with anybody. I mean, every time someone makes a negative comment on our videos, it's because of the atonement doctrine. Every single time, you know, because
Mhm.
that was shoved down so many people's throats for so long. That's all they believed. And so when we come along and say something that's a little bit different or anything like that, then it becomes a major battle, a major issue. And we have to get away from that. We have to be able to discuss anything, like you said, Gary, on any subject, really.
Yes.
You
And I
know,
was wondering if our overly specialization is resulting in our not being able to discuss things anymore.
it's a good part of it, I'm sure, uh, by a long shot. Okay, who's up next?
Diane.
Diane.
And then Jesus discoursed on the dangers of courage and faith, how they sometimes lead unthinking souls on to reckless and presumption. He also showed how prudence and discretion, when carried too far, lead to cowardice and failure. He exhorted his hearers to strive for originality while they shunned all tendency toward I can't pronounce it, eccentricity.
Eccentricity.
He pleaded for sympathy without sentimental, thank you, sentimentality, piety without
Sanctimonious.
Sanctimonious.
sanctimoniousness. He taught reverence free from fear and superstition. Thank you for all the help.
She's
They're
gonna
long
swear I
words.
planned all that. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Rodney?
They're long words.
Yes, they are. All right. Let's see, Rodney. I think you're next.
Okay. You need to change the slide.
I just did. Oh, I thought I had. Okay.
Okay. It was not so much what Jesus taught about the balanced character that impressed his associates as the fact that his own life was such an eloquent exemplification of his teaching. He lived in the midst of stress and storm, but he never wavered. His enemies continually laid snares for him, but they never entrapped him. The wise and learned endeavored to trip him, but he did not stumble. They sought to embroil him in debate, but his answers were always enlightening, dignified, and final. When he was interrupted in his discourses with multitudinous questions, his answers were always significant and conclusive. Never did he resort to ignoble tactics in meeting the continuous pressure of his enemies, who did not to employ every sort of false, unfair, and unrighteous mode of attack upon him.
Isn't that a good outline to learn
Yeah.
how to deal with people? I mean,
Mhm.
you think about it.
Well, and
you
you
know?
have to have
Last,
self-control.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
last sentence reminds me of the Democrats against Trump.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's a perfect example. They use every sort of false, unfair, and unrighteous mode of attack upon him. And that's on anybody disagrees on, right? They disagree with you, they go to the lowest level of attack to try to get you because nobody has any self-control anymore, it seems. All right. Gary, would you take the next one, please?
Thank you. While it is true that many men and women must
Insidiously.
Assiduously.
assiduously apply themselves to some definite pursuit as a livelihood vocation, it is nevertheless wholly desirable that human beings should cultivate a wide range of cultural familiarities with life as it is lived on earth. Truly educated people are not satisfied with remaining in ignorance of the lives and teachings of their fellows.
Doings.
I
That's
like
why it's
that.
good to travel.
Yeah.
I like that because it says truly educated people are not satisfied with remaining in ignorance of the lives and doings of their fellows. I have a curiosity, so that makes me intelligent, I guess.
Yeah, and you're not going through life with blinders on. You want to see everything, the whole picture all the time. And that's a good thing, right? All right.
Enough of my
Next.
bragging. Okay.
That's all right. 5, lesson regarding contentment. When Jesus was visiting the group of evangelists working under the supervision of Simon Zelotes, during their evening conference, Simon asked the master, why are some persons so much more happy and contented than others? Is contentment a matter of religious experience? Among other things, Jesus said in answer to Simon's questions. Okay, Pam. Pam, are you frozen? Are you okay? I think Pam is frozen.
Earth to Pam.
Pam?
You okay, Pam?
No, her screen's frozen. Pam, I don't know if you can hear us or not, but your screen's frozen. You may have to reboot your computer and come back. All right, Diane, would you take that? Sure.
Simon, some persons are naturally more happy than others. Much, very much, depends upon the willingness of man to be led and directed by the Father's Spirit which lives within him. Have you not read in the scriptures the words of the wise man? The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, searching for the inward parts, and also that such spirit-led mortals say, the lines are filled, the lines are fallen to me to pleasant places. Yes, I have goodly heritage, a little that a religious man has is better than the riches of many wicked. For a good man shall be satisfied from within himself. A merry heart makes a cheerful countenance and is continuous and continual feast. Better is a little with the reverence of the Lord than great treasures and trouble with therewith. Better is a diner is better is a dinner of the herbs where love is that a fatted ox and hatred thereof within. Better is little than religious with righteousness than great revenues with rectitude. A merry heart does good like a medicine. Better is a handful with composure than a superabundance with sorrow and vexation of spirit.
That's right.
A lot there, isn't there, y'all?
Roger,
Right.
my Zoom froze on me.
Did
Is
it?
that what it was?
Yes, and so it bumped me out and I had to push the button again.
Yeah, well, when I opened my Windows-based computer tonight, it upgraded, so it may be something
Hmm.
to do with that.
Hmm.
But this reminds me, in Alaska, way back many years ago, this old Catholic priest who had retired and he had long hair, but he invited me over and he was poor.
Hmm.
So I shared beans with him. And he looked at me and said, I'd rather share beans with a friend than eat steak alone. And it
Mm-hmm.
always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's always better to share things with other people,
Mm.
right? When
Much,
you're
much
alone
more value.
when you're alone all the time, there's not much worse than sitting and eating by yourself.
Yeah,
There
Mm-hmm.
tell me about
really
it.
is, right? All
Mm-hmm.
right, so there's a lot of lessons in this paragraph, and I'm not going to go into great detail because I get long-winded on most stuff anyway. So let's go on to the next one. Um, let's see if I can figure out a way to keep this straight. I'm just going to go on to Rodney. I'm going to come back to you, Pam. Rodney,
Okay.
would you take this one?
Okay. Much of man's sorrow is born of the disappointment of his ambitions and the wounding of his pride. Although men owe a duty to themselves to make the best of their lives on earth, having thus sincerely exerted themselves, they should cheerfully accept their lot and exercise ingenuity in making the most of that which has fallen to their hands. All too many of man's troubles take origin in the fierce soil of his own natural heart. Quote, the wicked flee when no man pursues. The wicked are like the troubled sea, for it cannot rest, but its waters cast up mire and dirt. There is no peace, says God, for the wicked.
All right. So there is no peace for the wicked because their own soul constantly stirs up the mire and dirt within it instead of trying to make things better and trying to go for the positive aspects of it. They bring up the dirt and mire and wallow in it, basically, right?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The one quote, the wicked flee when no man pursues. Is it talking about paranoia?
Yeah, basically, Rodney, that's what it is talking about uh because when the wicked flee, they're doing it because of this imaginary fear, and no man follows them because they're wiser than that to know you can't trust your own fear. One of the hardest things for the angelic core to understand is our acceptance of fear in our life every single day. We're afraid of everything, and they can't
Mm-hmm.
understand and they cannot relate to that fear. Actually, I think I said that in that video today, didn't I?
Yeah, there was something on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So, but it's the no man follows is because most people are wise and know that you can't base your life on constant fear. You have to step out and take a chance, or you'll never do anything in
Mm-hmm.
life, right? All right. Let's see here. Gary, would you take the next?
Thank you. Seek not then for false peace and transient joy, but rather for the assurance of faith and the securities of divine sonship, with which yield composure, contentment, and supreme joy in the spirit.
Right. Notice here it says false peace and transient joy. That's what you get when you chase after these things that are unholy in your life. But if you seek after the assurance of faith and divine sonship, those things you get you'll end up with contentment, supreme joy in the spirit. So the joy of God will be part with you. Pam, would you take the next?
Yeah. Jesus hardly regarded this world as a vale of tears. He rather looked upon it as the birth sphere of the eternal and immortal spirits of paradise ascension, the vale of soul making.
So he didn't think this world was a vale of tears. He didn't think this world was all that difficult. He thought it was a training ground for his future paradise ascenders,
Uh-huh.
right? So if Jesus thought it was a training ground for us for the future, we need to take advantage of that as much as humanly possible. And it's not going to be an easy ride. Nobody said it was going to be easy, did they? Can you find it anywhere in any religious text where it says life is going to be easy and a knockover? No, I don't think so, right? It's tough. Any way you look at it, it's the only way we learn. Okay, 6, the fear of the Lord. Boy, this is a good, big one. It was at Gamaliel during the evening conference that Philip said to Jesus, Master, why is it that the scriptures instruct us to fear the Lord, while you would have us look to the Father in heaven without fear? How are we to harmonize these teachings? And Jesus replied to Philip, saying, I'm going to tell you ahead of time, you're not supposed to harmonize these teachings, right? The teaching is wrong. Okay, Diane, you're back next to me again, so you're up again.
My children, I am not surprised that you ask such questions. In the beginning, it was only through fear that men could learn reverence. But I have come to reveal the Father's love so that you will be attracted to the worship of the eternal by the drawing of his Son's affectionate and recognition and reciprocation of the Father's profound and perfect love. I would deliver you from the bondage of driving yourself through slavish fear to the irksome service of the jealous and wrathful King God. I would instruct you in the Father Son relationship of God and man so that you may be joyfully led into that sublime and supernal free worship of a living, just, and merciful Father God.
Loving.
Loving, just, and merciful
What
Father.
did I say?
Living.
Loving. Definitely loving.
Okay. Think of it this way, y'all. Think about teaching your own children from the time they're big enough to walk that they should just love God, not fear him.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be pretty
Yeah.
amazing? You think about it that way? Because there is nothing to fear from God. The only thing that they taught early man to fear God from was because man was so boastful, right? He thought he knew everything. Wait a minute, that's the way it is now, isn't it?
We
Good.
haven't done that.
All right, so the fear part is not necessary, but the love part is in the worship of the Father. All right. Let's see here. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Yes. The fear of the Lord has had different meanings in the successive ages, coming up from fear through anguish and dread to awe and reverence. And now from reverence, I would lead you up through recognition, realization, and appreciation to love. When man recognizes only the works of God, he is led to fear the supreme. But when man begins to understand and experience the personality and character of the living God, he is led increasingly to love such a good and perfect, universal, and eternal Father. And it is just this changing of the relation of man to God that constitutes the mission of the Son of Man on earth.
So this is what urged Jesus to come to earth in the first place, right? To develop the loving character and personality of God so we could understand who God was and love him like Jesus does. All right, Gary.
Mhm.
Intelligent children do not fear their father and did you switch it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
Okay. Intelligent children do not fear their father in order that they may receive good gifts from his hand. But having already received abundance of good things bestowed by the dictates
Dictates. Yeah.
dictates of the Father's affection for his sons and daughters. This much loved, these much loved children are led to love their father in responsive recognition and appreciation of such maleficent, magnificent,
Yeah.
benefits.
beneficent. Uh,
Close enough. That's good.
okay, the goodness of God leads to repentance. The benevolence,
Beneficence
okay, whatever you said,
of God.
of God leads to service. The mercy of God leads to salvation. And while the love of God leads to
Well,
intelligence and free hearted worship.
what does beneficence means?
Means the
I can't
benefits.
even say it.
The
That's what I thought.
benefits, yeah, the miraculous benefits of being a son of God. Okay, let me say something here for fathers. Okay, because it's appropriate right at this point. Imagine if you bring your children up under love, uh, in a situation where everything you do with your children is based on the goodness of you, the goodness of your children, and the love in your life. So when your children gets 18, 19, 20 years old, you know what your children are going to do? They're going to love you. They're going to love you just like they did when they were a child. But they won't get to the point where someday in their future they're going to hate your guts. Okay?
Correct.
That's the big difference. And that's what they're talking about here. Those who have grown up in good things naturally love their father. And basically, what Jesus is teaching us is this: because of all the wonderful blessings God has prepared for us from this earth all the way up to the paradise ascension plan, just because of that preparation for us, we should love God beyond any imaginable point. Okay?
Correct.
That's exactly what this is about. Okay? And it should be a natural love that emerges from us from the benefits we have received not only in this life but in the life to come from God the Father himself, because he's led us all the way through it. Okay? So
Mhm.
all right. Pam, would you take the next one?
Yeah. Your forebears feared God because he was mighty and mysterious. You shall adore him because he is magnificent in love, plenteous in mercy, and glorious in truth. The power of God engenders fear in the heart of man, but the nobility and righteousness of his personality beget reverence, love, and willing worship. A dutiful and affectionate son does not fear or dread even a mighty and noble father. I have come into the world to put love in the place of fear, joy in the place of sorrow, confidence in the place of dread, loving service and appreciative worship in the place of slavish bondage and meaningless ceremonies. But it is still true of those who sit in darkness that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But when the light has more fully come, the sons of God are led to praise the infinite for what he is rather than to fear him for what he does.
So fearing God in the beginning is natural, isn't it? Because he's so much more powerful than we are. But as we go through life, when we get to the point where we're ready to convert into the mansion worlds, we should love God to the point so much that we no longer fear him. We just look forward to standing before him to worship him and be in his presence. Okay? That's what it boils down to. So let me transcend from this world without fear of anything or anybody, so that when I stand before Jesus on Salvington, I don't fear Jesus. I love Jesus, right?
Mhm.
That's what it's all about. What did I just do here on my other camera? I don't know. I hit something. Okay. Looks like I cut my head off, didn't I?
Yeah.
I can't see it. Oh, there you are.
The other picture. That's all right. Let me just change that to I don't know what I did. Doesn't matter. It's not going to show up over there anyway because I don't have a mic on it. Okay. Did we just read this one, y'all?
No.
Okay, let's go on to the next. I'm up, right?
Yes.
When children are young and unthinking, they must necessarily be admonished to honor their parents. But when they grow older and become somewhat more appreciative of the benefits of the parental ministry and protection, they are led up through understanding, respect, and increasing affection to that level of experience where they actually love their parents for what they are more than for what they've done. The father naturally loves his child, but the child must develop his love for the father from the fear of what the father can do through all dread and dependence and reverence to the appreciative and affectionate regard of love. So it's natural for them children to start to fear you because you're so much bigger and you've set down the law. But eventually they should get to the point where they love you for whom you are and not because of all these terrible things. If you grew up and you still hate your mother and father, then you weren't brought up properly, right? And I can tell you that firsthand because I was never brought up properly. Okay. I knew people who were, but that wasn't the case with me. And I'm sure it wasn't the case with my wife either, from what she says. So it's a rarity to get a parent that now knows how to um, bring up a child properly. Diane, would you take the next one?
You have been taught that you should fear God and keep his commandments, for that is the whole duty of man. But I have come to give you a new and higher commandment. I would teach you to love God and learn to do his will, for that is the highest privilege of the liberated sons of God. Your fathers were taught to fear God, the Almighty King. I teach you love God, the all-merciful Father.
The all merciful Father, right?
Mhm.
He's the one that's with us every single day. All right, Rodney, would you take the next one?
The kingdom of heaven, which I have come to declare, there is no high and mighty king. This kingdom is a divine family, the universally recognized and unreservedly worshipped center and head of this far-flung brotherhood of intelligent beings is my Father and your Father. I am his son, and you are also his sons. Therefore, it is eternally true that you and I are brethren in the heavenly estate, and all the more so since we have become brethren in the flesh of the earthly life. Cease then to fear God as a king or serve him as a master. Learn to reverence him as the creator. Honor him as the father of your spirit youth. Love him as a merciful defender, and ultimately worship him as the loving and all-wise Father of your more mature spiritual realization and appreciation.
Why did he say here the merciful defender too? Because it's God the Father that you fuse with. It's God the Father gives you eternal life.
Mhm.
Okay? When you fuse with that adjuster, you become a real son or daughter of God. And in that sense, God has defended your animalistic nature all the way up through the mansion worlds and to the point where you fuse. Okay? So he is the defender of your soul, if you think about it.
Hmm.
Okay? And I wanted to bring that up on that one. All right. Gary, you still out there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Out of your wrong concepts
Turn
of,
your camera on, Gary, because this might be a short.
well,
I
here's
can't.
the deal. I was eating and I don't have enough for everybody.
That's okay.
Hey, give me
Okay.
some of that.
Yeah, you're gonna want something. No, I'm joking. Is that pizza? No, I'm joking.
Out of your wrong concepts of the Father in heaven, grow your false ideas of humility and springs much of your hypocrisy. A man may be a worm of the dust by nature and origin, but when he becomes indwelled by my Father's Spirit, that man becomes divine in his destiny. The bestowal spirit of my Father will surely return to the divine source and universe level of origin, and the human soul of mortal man, which shall have become the reborn child of this indwelling spirit, shall certainly ascend to with the divine spirit to the very presence of the eternal Father.
Since it comes from the Father, it goes back to the Father, doesn't it? So when you fuse with that adjuster, it already knows how to get back to the Father,
Mhm.
right? Okay. We
Even
got
if you tap out, like commit suicide or somewhere along the way, that spirit goes back to the Father.
That's right. That's right. And we are out of time, y'all. Let's see.
For real?
Yeah, we got two more here. We only have like 5 paragraphs here to finish up. Y'all want to stay after and do it?
Yeah, let's go quickly.
I'm
Okay.
enjoying it.
All right. Who's next? Pam?
I am, yeah.
All right.
Humility indeed becomes mortal man who receives all these gifts from the Father in heaven, albeit there is a divine dignity attached to all such faith candidates for the eternal ascent of the heavenly kingdom.
Notice here it says faith candidates.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's by faith we are saved. Okay, go ahead,
The
Pam.
meaningless and menial practices of an ostentatious and false humility are incompatible with the appreciation of the source of your salvation and the recognition of the destiny of your spirit-born souls. Humility before God is altogether appropriate in the depths of your hearts. Meekness before men is commendable, but the hypocrisy of self-conscious and attention-craving humility is childish and unworthy of the enlightened sons of the kingdom.
So you don't have to pretend, right? All right. You do well to be meek before God and self-controlled before men, but let your meekness be of spiritual origin and not the self-deceptive display of a self-conscious sense of self-righteous superiority. Amen. The prophet spoke advisedly when he said, walk humbly with God. For while the Father in heaven is the infinite, the eternal, he also dwells with him
With him.
with him who is of contrite mind and humble spirit. The Father disdains pride, loves hypocrisy, and abhors iniquity. And it was to emphasize the value of sincerity and perfect trust in the loving support and faithful guidance of the Heavenly Father that I have so often referred to the little children as illustrative of the multitude of mind and responsive spirit which are so essential to entrance of mortal man who into the spirit realities of the kingdom of heaven. That makes us all little children. That's why he says, that's why he talks about little children so much. All right, Diane.
Well did the prophet Jeremiah describe many mortals when he said, "You are near God in the mouth, but far from him in the heart." And have you not also read the direful warning of the prophet who said, "The priests there teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. At the same time, they profess piety and proclaim that the Lord is with them. Have you not been well warned against those who speak peace to their neighbors when when mischief is in their hearts, those who flatter with the lips and while the heart is given to double dealing? Of all the sorrows of a trusting man, none are so terrible as to be wounded in the house of a trusted friend."
It's true.
There's a bunch of preachers that need to read that, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rodney, return to
Yes.
Bethsaida.
7. Returning to Bethsaida. Andrew, in consultation with Simon Peter and with the approval of Jesus, had instructed David at Bethsaida to dispatch messengers to the various preaching groups with instructions to terminate the tour and return to Bethsaida sometime on Thursday, December 30th. By supper time on that rainy day, all of the apostolic party and the teaching evangelist had arrived at the Zebedee home.
So the second preaching tour was about over. Gary, would you take the next one?
The group remained together over the Sabbath day, being accommodated in the house of I can't say that right now,
Bethsaida.
Bethsaida, and nearby Capernaum, after which the entire party was granted a 2 weeks recess to go home to their families, visit their friends, and go fishing. The 2 or 3 days they were together in Bethsaida were indeed exhilarating and inspiring. Even the older teachers were edified by the young preachers as they narrated their experiences.
Pam, would you take the last one, please?
Yeah. Of the 117 evangelists who participated in the second preaching tour of Galilee, only about 75 survived the test of actual experience and were on hand to be assigned to service at the end of the 2 weeks recess. Jesus, with Andrew, Peter, James, and John, remained at the Zebedee home and spent much time in conference regarding the welfare and extension of the kingdom.
Okay, so 75 out of the 117 actually made it through the test, right?
No, about
All
75.
right. That's what Rodney was talking about earlier.
Whatever that means. About 75.
Who's up for the share?
You
Or to
are.
prayer
Oh,
of acceptance. Oops,
you
I
are.
got the wrong one. Yeah, hang on. There we go. I'll read it. I can't hear anybody again, so I hope, can y'all hear me? Somebody wave.
Yes, yes.
You could? Okay. Prayer of acceptance. I believe that God is my paradise Father and that only by faith am I saved. No sacrifice is necessary. By the same faith, I become a child of God and know that all men and women are my brothers and sisters. We know the Son of God, the sovereign of our universe of Nebadon, is Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. By allowing the will of God to become my will, I will someday stand in the presence of the Paradise Father. In the name of Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen.
And thanks everyone for joining us out there. Please come see us again. I can't hear you guys. My sound went off again for some reason. I don't know why. So I'll see y'all Thursday. We'll start a new paper. All right. Good night,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Good
Goodbye.
night. Love you guys.